I'm feeling generous. It's story. Boom, boom, it's story time. Boom, boom, paranormal Chicago activity with Cat G. I was talking about the clubs up on Weed Street. Well, you know what? I'm finna talk about it. This time, I'm talking about Club Concrete. This wasn't necessarily on Weed Street. It was more on North Avenue. This was a big-ass warehouse turned into a club. When they first opened, they had like 6-7 different rooms. You walk in the front door, you in one club room and look like a jungle. You walk towards the back and then it's like a pit you drop down into, and it was like red and black, and then you walked around another corner and up some stairs and it was another room and it was another DJ over there and them rooms was blue, and then you went down a spiral staircase. Bitch, slow down. Actually, I gotta go back. When you went from the blue rooms, you went outside. It was a courtyard, and in the courtyard, it was a spiral staircase. Woo! And you could go up, and that room was either orange or yellow, whichever one they felt like turning the lights on for that. Concrete was fucking huge when it first opened up. A lot of people don't remember how big Concrete was because they wound up starting closing down all the extra little parts, and we was only left with 4 different rooms. Now peep this. I was working with this DJ. His name is DJ Pound for Pound. If y'all ever need a DJ, go find DJ Pound for Pound. He is one of the best fucking DJs on the south side of Chicago, even to this day. Y'all, this day he pissed me the fuck off. Well, he pissed me off. I don't know where homeboy wasn't answering the fucking phone. I couldn't figure out what club he was supposed to be in. I'm supposed to be setting up his equipment. I know he was somewhere being a hoe with some little bitch, and I didn't give a fuck. I wasn't trying to be your little hoe, little bitch. I wanted you to tell me where the fuck you was supposed to be at so I can come make my money. After 30-45 minutes of sitting up here trying to contact DJ Pound for Pound, I'm mad at myself because every part of me was like, you should have went out with your friends. You should have went out with Perfection. You knew you shouldn't have sat up here and canceled out on them. See, this is your problem. You always going for the money when you need to go have some fun sometimes. You know what? Now I'm even more fucking mad. Because, bitch, I look good. Oh, baby, when I tell you I look good, goddamn. I had on this red bodycon dress, and it had black piping around the boobs and around the edges. Oh, this motherfucker was bad with some black 6-inch heels. Let me see if I could go find it. There go, y'all. There go. That bitch was bad, baby. So I was not going home. Sis was too fucking fast. I'm driving. I just so happened to pull up, and I see Concrete, and I'm like, oh, shit. I could go hit some. From outside the club, music and vibe is immaculate. Yes, I need party. And I hear one of my friends is actually hosting a party tonight. Yes, bitch, we finna get it. I go inside, I link up with the host. Oh, baby, it's over. Now we finna tag team this bitch. Me and him is a Gemini. My birthday May 31st, his is June 1st. We finna run it. About an hour into the set, I start getting the brain tingle. Something somewhere is scanning my ass. I don't like it. Who the fuck is it? Where is you? I'm trying to play it cool. I get to dancing around in a circle like a white girl. You know. Ooh, ooh. I don't know why I did. And I catch the eyes of this big old white man standing in the back. I'm trying to play it off, right? Because from what I saw, it was a big old swole white man. And he had long Fabio hair. So I turn around. It's mirrors behind the DJ booth. I'm trying to be slick, right? Cock my head to the side so I can see homeboy in the back. I don't see him back there. Now I'm mad. Where the fuck he go? Where he go? I turn around and he's standing on this side by the booths. And I'm like, ooh. How the fuck he get over there? He do the stupid ass people eyebrow. Listen, I don't know what it is about that people eyebrow and a half smile, but baby, drop them draws. Now I'm really looking at this man. This man is from somewhere up there in Mother Russia, Germany land. You know how pretty the people up there be looking? I think it's the ice or some shit. It's got some type of healing, preserving powers over them because half of their ass look ethereal until like 60. Then it's all downhill. But this man, in his prime. My friend who hosting the party, he get my attention. I'm really not paying attention to him because I got a white stallion over here that I am trying to ride, bitch. Get in. He tell me that he want me to go to the back of the club and he want me to host back there. And I'm like, oh, okay, cool. I'm going to get the party started back there. Now, I look over. The man is gone again. I'm like, what the fuck? You know what? It ain't meant for me to have. I'm not finna chase no white man. What the fuck my black ass look like chasing after a white man? Girl, take your ass to the back. Now, here's the crazy thing about the back part. It's got a DJ booth. The DJ booth got a little bit of a balcony. On this balcony, you could actually open up the window and like the DJ could actually interact with the pit down. So I'm in the window. I'm turning the fuck up. I get the crowd get going again. They starting to buy drinks all over again. They tipping again. Okay, cool. Because that's what I'm here for. I need y'all energy to stay up here so people can leave and have money in their pocket tonight. Tip the motherfucking bartenders and the waitresses, bitch ass. And the bottle girls tip. And while you at it, throw some at the DJ and the host. Because, bitch, if it wasn't for us, y'all wouldn't be here in the first place. As I am talking, I'm legitimately running out of breath. For those of you who don't know, I slightly have asthma. And I'm thinking to myself like, girl, what you do for you to sit up here and really be having some asthma symptoms? Like, we ain't did nothing today. We ain't smoked before we came in here. We ain't smoked when we got in here. We ain't been running around. What is going on? So I'm trying to push through, right? And I'm talking about my breath is getting shorter and shorter. It is almost like breathing out of a straw. So I finally closed the damn. And I hear from behind me, finally, that I'm trying to take was because I was not able to breathe, but now it's also because, bitch, who the fuck are you? I turn around, Mr. White Stallion is sitting there. He's just looking at me with a half smile on his face. My heartbeat is racing in places that it should not be right now. I ain't finna die. I'm having an asthma attack, but this man is having tingly attacks in my nether regions. He walked up to me with this thick ass Russian accent. Asked me if I want to be his treat for tonight. Bitch, I turned into putty. Oh my God, this man. One lung is fighting for its life because of asthma. The other lung has been snipped and put into this man's hand. He gotta be like 6'4". I'm talking about he swole as hell. He giving straight up bodybuilder vibe. He got a head full of hair. I'm talking about a head full of hair. And it's like straight and curly at the same time. It's just a flopping wherever the fuck it want to go to. And it's jet black. I'm talking about pitch black. But his eyes, this man's eyes was like crystal blue. Big old pretty white teeth. And these lips. Lord, kiss me, please. Please, just one time. You know how in the movies, the girl be daydreaming and she be like, that was me. That man let off a deep chuckle in his throat. And he said, if I lay my lips on you, you gonna be mine forever. Whoa. Whoa. What? I didn't realize that this man had his arms around my waist. I'm talking about we is in a full romantic embrace, bitch. If this was a romance novel, he is the vampire. I am the damsel in distress. Somebody help me. Help me. I said, sir, unhand me. I gotta go. He said, do you really want to go? Or do you want to go with me? I'm standing there, eyes shut. I said, no, sir, I need to go. He said, what's wrong with your eyes, bitch? I am Ray Charles' daughter. I'm officially blind. I'm not looking at you. Let me go. His hands let go of my waist and my feet touched the floor. When the fuck was my feet off the floor? I'm looking at him. I am confusion. I get the throwing up mantra. He turning red from the neck up. You ain't got to do all that. Nah, you tripping. Cause how the fuck? He said, it's not my fault that you like blue, motherfucker. Those are alcoholic beverages. And for those of you who don't know, me and alcohol don't mix. It make all my powers go. Now I'm throwing spells directly at this man's mental space. He back away into the door. I'm gone. No. I'm finna ban your ass because you not finna get nobody else tonight, bucko. You not finna get nobody else tonight. He tried to run out the booth. Couldn't get out the damn door because I done already locked this motherfucker. Let me go ahead on and take your power of persuasion. Thank you. As I'm doing what I do, he get the agent, literally aged by 30 years. He get a big old gray streak through his head. He mad as hell. Skin all wrinkly and saggy and shit. He got hair bumps all up under his cheek. Hair starting to fall out. I said, oh, okay. You like to prey on the young and the beautiful so that you can come up. Not no more, bucko. He walked up out of there looking like somebody's daddy, like he should have, instead of somebody who I was finna climb, because, oh, Lord, that man was fine.
If something mimicking those you love and crawl spaces scare you, I would not watch this. So when Neva was 1 year old, she moved into this old house, and nothing happened particularly to her for a few years, but her mom did say that she was always drawn to this particular area of the house, and she was super creeped out by it. Now, this area was the crawl space / basement basement. Fast forward to when Neva was about 6 years old, right? And she's just chilling, playing, and she hears something. She hears somebody call her name, and it sounds exactly like her mom, except for the only problem is it's coming from the crawl space. So Neva, being 6 years old, doesn't really think much of it, so she goes down to where the crawl space is, and she gets down there, and what she saw still haunts her to this day, she said. There was this huge shrine down there. It was filled with Bibles, crosses, and broken glass, not to mention old melted candles. So she's looking around, wondering what the hell is going on, when she hears it again. She hears someone say, Neva. This time, still coming from the crawl space, still sounding like her mom, except for it did not sound human like her mom. It was slightly distorted and off, and then she starts feeling something on her neck. Someone is breathing on her neck. So at this point, she's scared, so she gets out of there as fast as she possibly can, and she goes upstairs, and she sees that her mom is upstairs doing laundry. Now, Neva said that she never went down there again, but unfortunately, her room was right above the crawl space, and so sometimes she would be laying in bed, and she would just hear this just this heavy breathing coming up from the crawl space. Well, they end up moving out of that house and they move into a new house. This is where things escalated though. They didn't have a crawl space this time, but they had a garden shed on the edge of the property. She said that this shed really scared her because sometimes she would see moving dark figures in the shed, and she would also hear voices coming from the shed. One day, she's walking inside of her house and she sees that her mom's friend is sitting on the front porch. So she walks past her mom's friend, she goes inside, and when she gets inside, she freezes because right in front of her is her mom's friend talking to her mom in the kitchen. So she's like, what the hell is going on right now? And she runs back outside to see if whatever that was is still sitting on the porch. It's not sitting on the porch. It's standing still right in front of the shed, just staring at the shed, except for now it is abnormally tall. Now, I don't know how she does this, but she chooses to brush this off, and nothing actually happens to her for about a year. Well, that peace would soon be disrupted because one night she's laying in bed, she wakes up in the middle of the night, and she hears that and she sits up, looks at the end of her bed, and there is something sitting at the end of her bed. Now, she's thinking in her head that this is her sister, right? But then it slowly turns its head, looks right at her, and its face. She said its face was hollow and that its features were like sunken in, and that it looked like, her words, it was ready to pounce. It didn't though. Instead, it slowly gets up, it walks to her door, and then it just full on sprints down the hall and out the back door. She said that she didn't see it again until they moved into their current house, but that now that they're in their current house, she sees it everywhere. She'll see it sitting on the couch. She'll see it in the basement. She sees it in the bushes. She'll see it sitting at the end of her bed. And she said that sometimes she'll wake up in the middle of the night and she'll sit up. She'll see it sitting at the end of her bed, and it will start mimicking her family members' voices while it's sitting at the end of her bed. Her exact words at the end of this were, I don't think it will ever stop. It's like a loop. Everything it does reoccurs now and then. And sometimes it'll disappear for months, and other times it's there watching my every move. She said it's been about 2 months since she's seen it, but she still hears and feels its presence. So what do you guys think about that story? That story legit scared me. So many parts of that story scared me. I mean, even the end where she said that it sits at the end of her bed and mimics the people she loves, or the crawl space when her mom was calling her name in the crawl space. No. And I wonder what that shrine thing was. I am so curious to know if they did any investigating to figure out what that shrine thing was about. Maybe the house was haunted and the previous owners knew it and made the shrine to try to protect themselves. That's kind of what I'm thinking, but I can't think of anything else. I mean, you guys obviously know what this probably is, right? I can't say it, but you know that it's probably that. And I also wonder why it is specifically choosing her to bother. That is so strange to me. And the fact that it's able to move from house to house means it's not confined to one place. So where that shrine was, maybe it attached itself to her and moved from the other houses. So I definitely think that she has an attachment, but that's just my personal opinion. So I want to know know what your guys' personal opinion is. What do you think of this story? Like, what do you think is happening to her, and how do you think she could help herself? Any comments, suggestions, or just your thoughts would be greatly appreciated. But as always, please be respectful.
Listen, we don't get scared and we don't judge. Let me tell you guys a story time of this friend of mine who was dating this guy that would cheat on her left, right, and center. We told her to leave this guy and she decided no, she's going to find a love spell and throw it on him. For story's sake, we're gonna call the girl Jojo and we're gonna call the guy JC. So Jojo and JC were dating for a couple of months. Yes, a couple of months. And Jojo was so in love with JC. But JC was a cheater, shame. You know, he would cheat on her with so many women. Like, he would change women like he changes his clothing, like he changes his underwear. And so Jojo could not let go of JC, and we would tell her like, yo, like, leave this guy, man, he's not for you. Do you get what I'm trying to say? And she was like, no, I'm gonna go on TikTok and I'm gonna find a love spell instead of going to a traditional healer. She gets on TikTok and she finds this love spell where for the love spell to work, she had to be on her period, right? And I think she had to sleep with Jojo, and she did exactly that. And Jojo was obsessed with JC, was obsessed with Jojo. Like, he loved her down. He would buy her gifts, buy her flowers. All of a sudden, he was there for her. Like, every day, he was just there for the love of his life. Then one day, as their relationship is going so well, JC got a call from this girl, right? And because he was under this love spell, he decides to give the phone to Jojo. It's like, can you please speak to this girl? Tell her I don't want her no more. And the girl is like, listen, I'm not here to bother your life. I just wanted to let you know that I am pregnant and the child is yours, right? Shapo, don't know how that conversation ended, don't know how it went. Jojo decides, no man, I need to up my game. She goes on TikTok again and she searches for another spell. And this time she finds one where she has to use JC's underwear. Right? She has to use JC's underwear. She has to put the spell. I don't know how the spells worked, y'all, but when she told us the story, she just gave us that it was a love spell and required JC's underwear. And she took JC's underwear, she dialed whatever. JC that same day wore that underwear. Unfortunately for Jojo, I don't know. People who throw love spells on people or like give people love potions, do you guys like forget that these people have families that actually know their children? If you guys didn't know, someone that's under a love spell or a love potion, they act different. If you don't know somebody that has been fed a love potion before, you wouldn't know how they are. They act different. Number one, they act different. Number two, that person that you're putting a love potion on or casting a love spell on, just know that they are going to abuse you. Because they don't know why all of a sudden they love you so much when they didn't love you. They are going to love you but still abuse you. Number three, people outside are going to hate them and they're going to lose everything but you. They're going to become a what is this called? A burden. Anyways, that's besides. I'm just letting you guys know. JC's grandmother was a Sangoma and a traditional healer, right? So that particular day, JC wore this underwear, went to his grandma, and the grandma was like, hell to the no, that is not my grandson. And so they did whatever they did. And I remember Jojo's like, I called this guy. Oh, he didn't take the entire day. Jojo decides to call her man, right? It's like, JC, where you at? What's going on? And JC did not even play around with her. He laid it straight. He was like, listen, I was at my grandma's place today and I know what you've been doing to me. I know that you threw a love spell on me, and listen, I can't do this anymore. I cannot date somebody that's gonna cast spells on me. And you know what's sad, nah? One thing about a love spell, once somebody gets caught for using love potion on somebody and they remove that spell on that person, it's so sad because the other person, the one that threw the love spell, is the one that becomes obsessed. It's so sad. And they don't understand why the other person, at least in this case, JC told Jojo, like, listen, I know what you've been doing. But in other cases, the person that threw the love spell would never know that they caught them. They would never know. They wouldn't understand why this person all of a sudden doesn't love them anymore. And they will try by all means to get them back and their things will not be working. It's just sad, okay? Unfortunately for Jojo, as time went by, she and JC separated, but she was obsessed with JC because obviously JC's grandma threw the spell back and was like, let her be obsessed with you, let her feel what you were feeling, and her family or whoever must help her take the spell out because it's her own spell. She acts like she's still obsessed with JC. Nah, she's not obsessed anymore. Like, I think somebody in her family helped her. I don't know. But she was obsessed with this boy to the point that he actually had to get a restraining order against her. Because she would call him. She would take... Like, it was crazy. And also, she lost her job. She lost her job. She lost everything. She had to, like, start from square one. You know what I mean? But she learned her lesson. And I'm telling you this so you guys can also learn your lesson before you actually even do anything.
Welcome to an episode of What the Actual Fuck Is My Life. Let me just go over all of the things that have happened, okay? So in the last couple of months, I have decided to step away from doing nails. I went back into doing nursing, right? I got a job. I don't exactly know how I feel about it. I'm still on the fence. I hate the hours because before I was doing 12s and then 16s even, and I'm working in a clinic and I hate the fucking hours. I hate the hours. And then my daughter also has been saying how like she wishes that I was there in the morning still because it's early when I have to get there. I don't have time to drop her off at school. And then I'm not picking her up every single day from school. I'm picking her up on certain days. Okay. So I started at this fucking job, right? And I've been kind of all over the place. They haven't really known where they wanted to put me. So they finally end up putting me in the spot where they're saying that I'm going to be. And the people that work back there, I don't know what the actual fuck is wrong with them, okay? The first day that I was there, one of the coworkers was saying, like, talking very loudly. And mind you, this is in an area where there's no privacy. It's all curtains. So you hear everything that everyone is talking about. And she is hooping and hollering about how her dog's anal glands are infected. Why? I have no fucking idea, but she wanted everybody and their mothers to know about it. She keeps interrupting conversations. It's just all very weird and inappropriate. And then she goes on to say how her dog is scared of her because she was hitting an anthill with some tube or something, which also, what? And the dog got scared whenever she smacked it with the tube and she pulled a muscle. So now that dog associates the pain with her. So thinking that she abused her and all this other stuff, right? She has told it so many fucking times, I'm starting to believe that maybe she hit the fucking dog with tube. I don't know, but I've heard it so many times and I'm fucking sick of it. Now, here's the thing. My mental health has been, I don't want to say at an all-time low, but it's been really close. It's been really close to an all-time low. I have been really, really struggling. So I had done some research and I think that I potentially have PMDD. I have had birth control since my daughter was born. The 6-week postpartum appointment, up until now, I have had birth control. I had an IUD, right? I got it taken out because I was starting to feel like maybe, you know what, maybe having this out would solve some of my problems. I feel like I'm having issues that could be related to the birth control. Let's take it out and let's see what happens. Plus, it was due for a change and I didn't want to go through that pain again. If you have never had an IUD inserted, let me tell you, it is the worst pain you will ever feel in your fucking life. It's fucking miserable and I just didn't want to do it anymore. I talked to them about potentially getting my tubes tied. And they were like, shockingly, they were like, you know what? Okay, whatever. But we need, like, do you want to have birth control up until you have this appointment? Because I needed to wait until my insurance kicks in and all this other stuff, right? Yes, please. Okay. So I take it, but then I didn't need to take it. So I was like, whatever, kind of like putting it off. And then all of a sudden, I'm feeling like the world is ending. I'm feeling like everything is crashing down on me. And like any and all coping skills are out the fucking window. I cannot separate my reality from actual reality, and it's scaring me, okay? The first time it happened, it was like, ooh, I didn't like that too much, but whatever. The second time, it was scary. So I called, and I made an appointment, and I said, listen, I got all this shit going on. I need a full workup. I want blood work done. It's been a while since I've been in there. I want everything checked, and I need some meds, okay? So this week, I go to the doctor and I said, hey, so
if you have been on my page for a long period of time, you know that both of my parents had some really, really bad health issues back in 2022 and in the beginning of 2023. My dad ended up in end-stage liver disease, had to get a liver transplant in December of 2022. My mom, the week of my birthday, has a grand mal seizure and she ends up with brain cancer. Okay. So after that, I became a little bit of a hypochondriac and I was scared and I wanted to be tested for everything. So whatever, here we are again. I'm feeling shitty. I'm feeling tired all the time. Right. So I get all my labs checked. Back in 2020, I had low vitamin D, really low vitamin D. And at that point, I couldn't get out of bed. So I was like, okay, that's a thing. This time, again, the only thing wrong with my lab work was my vitamin D was 8. I'm feeling like shit, but then also I feel a little bit validated because I'm like, okay, that's one of the reasons why I'm feeling like shit. And if you don't know, if your vitamin D is low, that can affect weight loss and weight gain. That can affect your hair, your skin, your everything. And it can also affect anxiety and depression. I'm so sorry I'm stumbling over my words. I don't want to fucking cut anything. I'm just going to fucking talk, okay? Anxiety, depression, and you just feel like shit. You're exhausted all the fucking time, okay? So that's exactly what I'm feeling. I'm feeling that, and then it gets worse around Aunt Flo, okay? So I'm fighting for my fucking life, right? So then the day after I come back from my doctor's appointment, I was off all day because it was out of town. I come back and we're sitting back in the room where I'm with my coworkers, the crazy one, right? And all of a sudden she's on hold doing something and she makes a stupid joke, and because she was on hold and the guy said something about youth and she said Hitler's youth. And I said, what? And she said Hitler's youth or something. I was like, Hitler? Bitch, what the fuck are you talking about? What do you mean? What? Huh? And then my supervisor goes in because she hears Hitler and she wants to tell everybody her hot take about how she believes that Hitler wasn't as bad of a guy as he was painted out to be. I said, sorry? I'm sitting behind them because the way that it's set up, there's not enough room for 3 people, let alone 4. So I sit in a stool behind everybody. She didn't see my face, but I was like, what the fuck did she just say? I said, I'm sorry. And she goes on to say that she didn't think that Hitler was as bad of a guy as what everybody painted him to be because he was trying to do right by his country, right? She said, if you really read up on it, that you'll see that the Jews were bringing in pornography and he was trying to cleanse his country. I said, what? I said, I'm sorry. I just don't believe that concentration camps are the fucking answer. Mass unalivings. And what the fuck? We were all appalled. And I'm like, what do I do? I'm so uncomfortable. And I obviously made my little slick comment, like, concentration camps aren't the fucking answer. I'm so confused. And she keeps going. And I'm like, this bitch don't fucking know me. She doesn't know anything about me. I'm new here. And she's so comfortable saying this shit. This wild ass shit. She goes on to diminish the horrors and atrocities that is the Holocaust. She then says that she believes that they potentially lied about how many people actually died. And then she goes on to say that she gets a lot of flack for that. And I was like, you fucking should. You should get a lot more than flack. So she goes in and then she starts talking conspiracy theories. When I tell you it was the weirdest shit, I almost walked out. I didn't. And I feel like I should have, but I didn't. I didn't walk out because I was like, what do I do? Because this is my supervisor. This is literally the supervisor of this area making these weird ass fucking comments. And so I'm sitting here, what the fuck? She talks about fucking Pangea. She talks about the giants in the Bible and whatever. And I was like, oh my God, what are we doing? Are you well? What the fuck are you talking about? So she ends up leaving the room, right? I didn't realize we were already at 9 minutes. I had to pause it. This is going to have to be a part 2, and I fucking hate that because I wanted to get this all out in one fucking video. I'm about to lose my fucking mind. So she leaves the room, and one of the texts, the one who doesn't know how to read a fucking room, she makes a comment saying, I think I'm going to report her. And I said, I'm going to be honest with you. I train with the office manager next week, and I was going to have a conversation with her because I was incredibly uncomfortable. That was anti-Semitic, and she has made racist comments. And here we are. You know what I mean? Fucking shit. Go to part 2. Of what the actual fuck is going on in my life right now. We're talking about my supervisor saying that she thinks that Hitler wasn't that bad of a fucking guy. What the fuck? Okay. She leaves the room. One of them says that she's going to report her. She wants to report her. I said, you should. My thing was, I was going to talk to the office manager about it, but if you want to go to the head lady today, go ahead. I'm working with this lady next week. I was going to have a conversation with her regardless. And she said, I'm going to go. Okay, whatever, go. So she goes in, and then she comes back in, and she said that you can go give her a statement if you want to, whatever. So I go in there, and I said, this is really weird because I'm so new here, and I never thought that I was going to end up in here because someone was making weird ass anti-Semitic comments, right? So she's like, so tell me what happened. And I said, something started off with a stupid piss poor joke that I still am not registering what the fuck she's talking about. And I said, she said this, and then she started going in, and she said all this crazy shit. She said something about, he wasn't as bad of a guy as they thought they were. They were bringing this into this, and he was trying to cleanse his country. And I can't get over that, the way that that's worded. Cleanse his country. That's crazy. That is crazy. Okay. And then goes on to say that, like alluding to the fact that it was their fault, right? That they, you know? And I said, and then she goes on to say that she gets a lot of flack for it. And I was like, you should, and you should not feel comfortable about this. This is crazy because I'm new back here and you don't even fucking know me, and you don't know my background. You don't know my family. You don't know anything. So it's crazy that you would say this wild ass shit and diminish the atrocities that has happened from that time and from that man. What the fuck is going on? She agrees, and she's like, I honestly cannot believe this. This is crazy. I've never had any complaints. This lady has been there for fucking ever, right? And then she brings up like the shit that's happening at the border and with ICE and all this other stuff. And I said, exactly. You cannot sit here and tell me that you think that guy wasn't that bad of a guy and killed all of these fucking people, all of these innocent fucking people, and did all of this crazy, insane shit to this specific demographic of fucking people. And then here we are, modern day time. People are getting kidnapped and put in fucking concentration camps and being treated just like modern day American government, different places, different times, and different demographic of fucking people. And here we are, and the same thing is fucking happening. I said, yes, that's exactly what the fuck. You cannot say that these are not correlated. You know what I mean? What the fuck? So she said, well, then the other girl who doesn't, the shit that she says is so stupid. She said that they deserve to die. And I said, I did not hear her say that, but I 100% agree that she was alluding to that fact, but she did not use those words. And what pisses me off about her using those words is I'd never heard that. And I was like in the conversation, I never heard her say that, but you saying shit that she didn't actually say, that completely discredits the conversation. So say what she's fucking said. It's bad and fucked up no matter what. I said, I don't think she said that, but she definitely alluded to that fact. So, fucked up, period. Okay? So then we get back in there. This girl still don't know how to read a fucking room. And we're just trying to do our jobs, but also like get it together. This is literally the end of the day. It has been an insane fucking day because what the fuck just happened? Talking about conspiracy theories and saying this wild ass anti-Semitic racist fucking shit. And then back there, she's trying to talk about, we're in the middle of like a patient care, and she's trying to like talk about all this shit. And I'm like, we just talked about how inappropriate this shit is to talk about in front of fucking patients. And here you are talking about this shit in front of fucking patients. And then walks into the area where she has the patient and says, yeah, one of our coworkers said some really inappropriate things. Why are you telling them that? Why are you saying this right now? And then she says, yeah, they said some anti-Semitic comments. Why? He's just trying to get in here and get the fuck out. He does not want to be here, and he sure as shit don't want to listen to the shit that you have to say. That's weird, and that makes people uncomfortable because it ain't got nothing to do with them. And what if he, like, you don't know his background either, so that could affect him directly. You know what I mean? What the fuck is wrong with you? Shut up! Shut up! I had to pause and get a drink of water. Literally, this girl has gotten in trouble because she does that shit. Like, she will say inappropriate things to people, like, and like she doesn't realize it. And then she inserts herself in every fucking conversation. And it drives me fucking nuts. I ain't even been over there that long. But here we are, okay? So that happened. She has been reported. Are they going to do anything about it? I don't know. The lady genuinely seemed upset. And anytime, like, I went to a boss in the past about some fucked up shit, I got in trouble for the way that I handled it because I cussed him out a little bit. You know what I mean? And I mean, I guess, but also those people. So whatever. So now here we are. Here I am just trying to live my life. Also, I forgot to mention when I was at the doctor's office, I said, I need to lose weight. I'm so sick of this. I have tried things and nothing has worked. I feel like I try really hard and then I give up after I don't see any results, which is not good and stupid or whatever. But I'm still trying to like mindfully make better decisions, like drinking more water and drinking less soda and then eating better and being mindful of what I'm eating and how much I'm eating and all this other stuff. It's just really, really fucking hard. And I don't know what the fuck to do. Okay. So she was like, hey, let's get on Wegovy. Okay, period. You know what? I haven't taken anything. Why not try it? Here we are. So I got all of this medication this week. I fucking overheard. I was in the middle of this fucking conversation where this lady was saying that Hitler wasn't that bad. And then let me tell you, last night, the person that I cared about and trusted the most comes out and tells me that they have betrayed me in an unforgivable and completely unfixable way. And now I don't know what the fuck I'm doing with my life. I have no idea what I'm doing with my fucking life. I don't know where I want to be. I don't even know if I want to be over here anymore. I don't know if I want to quit my fucking job and go back to nails and just find a fucking salon over here or what. Because I was literally planning on starting RN school this fucking fall. I signed up to take my last class that I need for RN school, which is chemistry, which I was already fucking scared about. And I start that in a couple of weeks. And then I have to take my entrance exams. And if I pass my entrance exams or I do well on them, and then my application actually gets accepted, which God knows it might not. It might not. I'm trying to get all this shit and what the fuck actually is my life? Someone has my voodoo doll. I don't know what the fuck is going on. I am so confused. All of this has happened. Like really, I've just really been feeling all of this like ick inside of me in the last 2 months, in the last 2-3 months. And I am so close to crashing out. I did crash out a little bit. I lost my mind a little bit. Any growth and progression that I made was a regression last night. And I literally feel like I'm floating away in space and nothing is real right now. This feels like a fucking fever dream. I don't know what the fuck to do. I don't know who the fuck to talk to. I don't know what the fuck is going on, but let me tell y'all something. What the fuck is my life? What is my life? What do I do? What is this?
I got number 14 for you from Rob, the search and rescue officer. This story actually comes from one of his fellow SAR officers, and we're going to call him Pete. Rob got to talking to Pete about all of the crazy things that they've seen on the job, and Pete didn't disappoint. While Pete and Rob were talking, Pete hesitated at first, and then he asked Rob to turn off his radio, and Pete did the same. Now, that's a big no-no while you're on the job. You don't turn your radio off, but Rob was really curious, so he did. Because one of the things that Rob specifically asked Pete about were the staircases found in the middle of the woods. So Pete basically tells Rob, listen, you're a nice guy and I'm going to try and help you out here. You need to quit while you're ahead and stop looking into this. So I will tell you what I know, but then I need you to promise to never breathe a word of this conversation again. And if you know what's good for you, stop digging for information on the stairs. So obviously Rob agrees and he says he will not say a word. Pete says, the stairs have always been here. They've been here as long as the parks have existed. Pete said that they have records going back decades describing them. He said sometimes people go up them and nothing happens, and other times, and then he kind of got a little weird and he was like, listen, I really don't like talking about this. And then he kind of shook it off and he was like, and sometimes really bad things happen. Okay, guys, and here's where it gets really freaking weird. It's almost unbelievable. He goes, one time I saw a guy get his hand cut clean off once he got to the top of the set of stairs. He said he reached up just to touch a tree branch and just like that, his hand was gone. Like 1 minute it's there and the next minute it's gone. A clean slice. He said the guy almost died. Also, they never found his hand. He said another time a woman just touched the stairs and a blood vessel exploded in her brain. He said exploded literally like a water balloon. She sort of stumbled over to him and the only thing that she could get out was, I think something's wrong with me. And then with that, she fell over like a sack of flour, gone before she even hit the ground. Disturbingly, he said, I'll never forget watching her eye turn red as the blood filled it up as she laid there. He said there was not one thing I could do about it. Pete goes, we always warn people not to go near them, and there's always one idiot who doesn't listen. He said, even if something doesn't happen to them in that moment, something bad always does happen around them. He goes, kids go missing as we are on the trail, or someone dies the next day, gets completely cut in half in a really safe area of the park. He says, I don't know why, but something bad always happens. And I don't know why they're out there, but it doesn't matter because they're there. And if we were smart, we would just warn the new officers about it and stay the hell away from them. Rob said we were both pretty quiet for a while and he was afraid to sort of say anything or ask any other questions because he wasn't sure if Pete was done. And then he looked like he wanted to say something else. And then he finally spoke up and he said, have you ever noticed how you can't find the same set twice? And Rob said he nodded, figuring he was going to keep talking. But with that, Pete just kind of kept on walking in silence. He never really did say anything else about it. He changed the subject to something about the biggest deer that he's ever seen out on the trails. And Rob didn't bug him for more information. He figured if he had anything else to say, he would have said it. So he didn't bring it up again. The freaking stairs, man. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. And if you're new here, definitely go back. I've got a bunch of stories like these in a series. I have them in a playlist. Definitely follow for more creepy story time. And I'm going to keep on sharing these creepy search and rescue stories until I can't get any more.
Anything having to do with imaginary friends will forever freak me out because 9 times out of 10, it is not an imaginary friend. It is something far worse. The person who submitted this wants to be anonymous, so let's call her Emily. Emily has been a nanny for the same family for years. At the time that this all happened, the little girl that she was watching was about 9 years old. We're going to call the little girl Lily. The family had recently moved into a new home that Emily wasn't familiar with, so this would be the first time Emily was going to stay with the little girl at the new house. When Emily showed up, the parents went and gave her a small tour of the house and gave her all the directions and pretty much left. They were very comfortable with Emily being there with Lily because Emily had done this many times before. On this occasion, the mom and dad were going to be away for 5 days. On the first couple nights, everything went as you would expect. They had the routine, they had the bath time and bedtime and dinner time, like everything was fine. But on the third night at about 2 a.m., Emily woke up to what sounded like a toy going off in the living room. Now she knew that she for a fact had put away all the toys that were downstairs, so she wasn't sure why she was hearing something go off in the living room, but she kept hearing it going off over and over again. The toy just kept saying, ABC, play with me. ABC, let's play together. Over and over again, so much so that Emily got out of bed and went downstairs to check. The minute she went downstairs, she sees the toy on the table and the toy goes completely silent. Thinking that the toy is probably malfunctioning, she goes and she turns it over. She takes the batteries out because she doesn't want this thing to continue to go off. So she puts the batteries to the side, puts the toy back down. As she's making her way back up the stairs, she hears the toy going off once again. This really freaked her out. Not only that, but when she looked up the stairs, she sees Lily standing there, the 9-year-old. Emily looks up at Lily and says, "What are you doing up? You should be in bed." Lily responds with, "Did he scare you too?" Emily goes, "Who?" Lily responds with, "My friend, Noah. He always wants to play. He doesn't like it when I go to bed." Emily didn't really know what to respond to this. She was actually really terrified by the whole situation, so she pretty much told Lily to just go to bed, that they would talk about it in the morning. Now, the next morning, they didn't bring it up. They kind of just went along with their normal routines, the play dates and all of that. Around dinner time, Lily's sitting at the table. When Emily goes to serve her dinner, Lily refuses to eat. At this point, Emily's working really hard to keep her composure because this whole thing is actually really scaring her. So to try to go along with Lily, she goes ahead and asks her, "Okay, so where's your friend Noah at now?" Lily responds with, "Noah is standing next to you holding on to your leg." The minute Lily said this, Emily felt this coldness on her leg. Like she felt like this coldness all around her and like something like put its cold hand on her leg. Emily literally felt like she was going to pass out. That's how scared she was. She decided to just serve a plate for Noah and put it next to Lily and wait for the parents to get home. The parents were actually meant to be home just a few hours later. The moment the mom and dad got home, Emily went ahead and set the mom aside and she told her everything was going on. She never mentioned any names. She just told her the situation. The mom responds with, "You mean her friend Noah?" The mom then began to explain that from the moment they moved into the house, Lily started to play with a little boy named Noah that she kept saying was in the house. It became so persistent that she would throw a tantrum anytime anybody would try to tell her otherwise. It got so bad that the parents decided to do research on the house and they pulled the records. They found out that the previous owners, or the original owners, had a little son named Noah who had passed away in the house. Apparently the family was so sad about the little boy Noah passing away that they sold the house and moved away. But that their way with dealing with the situation was that they were just going to allow Lily to continue to play with this little boy named Noah that didn't know how else to handle it, and that they felt like she would eventually outgrow it. Emily went ahead and told her that she didn't think that was the best option, that she felt like she should cleanse the house and help Noah cross over, because keeping Noah in the house was just going to frustrate him even more. He could essentially act out. Emily stayed with the family for a few more visits, but over time, Noah's presence became more aggressive. Doors would slam, objects would move, and sometimes she would feel like a cold hand brushing against her. She realized that she couldn't risk her safety anymore and had to quit. The last thing Emily heard was that the family ended up having to move out of the house, so she hopes and prays that Lily and her parents are in a much better place.
I'm sitting here playing my game, higher than giraffe ass. And I just had a thought of this time that I was actually smoking peace pipe with an Indian. You guessed it. Boom boom, it's story time. Boom boom, paranormal Chicago active with Cat. Okay, so boom, I was on a work trip, and this trip was for this candy company called Kilwin. I know somebody somewhere bitch, where did you not work? Everywhere. I'm a motherfucking hustler. I'm from the south side of Chicago, bitch. There is literally not an industry that I don't have some type of experience. Back to the story. So we up in Petoskey, Michigan. Shout out Petoskey. It is the cutest little town in Michigan. I love it. People say that they racist, but I think I'm light-skinned enough to get over, if you know what I mean. So I was cool. That's a horrible thing to say, but bitch, when you can find a way to stay safe, you cling on to it. My hair was straight as hell the whole time. Anyway, it's a whole lot of hoity-toity rich people who live in Petoskey, and they old. So it's like old school. Matter of fact, it's so old school that it looked like you literally walked into the 1940s. The cobblestone buildings and brick roads still exist there. And you would think because they in Michigan, this would be an all year round place. No, they are back in the Stone Ages. This is for the rich and the hoity-toity to come up there and vacation and take their asses back home. Baby, when it snowed, the whole city shut down. Ain't shit running. Now, they ain't too fond of people up there smoking all willy-nilly out in the public. And we was staying in a hotel, so where else am I gonna smoke? My roommates, they was getting on my nerve. I love them, but they was getting on my nerve. I had to go off by myself, so I did. Now, I'm walking out this door of this hotel, and it's late outside. It's got to be somewhere around 1 o'clock. And the lady say, if you're going out there for what I think you're going out there for, be safe, because the spirits like to walk about. Walkabout. Hold on, wait. She said, oh yeah, girl, they'll reach out and touch you for real, so be careful. I said, oh yeah? They get active when people go back there and smoke? Like, real active? And she say, yeah, they do. What? Oh, because I know that this used to be some Native American stomping grounds. Y'all may not really recognize it like that, but I can feel it. Yep, I feel all the energy. And if they get active when people go back there to smoke, it's time for a tobacco offering. My ignorant ass go out there. At this time, I was smoking cigarettes. So I broke open like 4 or 5 different Newports, sprinkled them all around the grass around me in a circle, and I lit my blunt. My ignorant ass said, how? Smoke 'em peace pipe. Baby, when I tell you that wind got the kick, I said, whoa. You puff pass, that's it. Puff pass, leave some for me. I felt the breeze come past my hand, the hand that I got my blunt in. I feel the breeze come past my hand again. I said, who you is and why you smoking with me? You like it? Is it good? I hear a voice say, yes, I come in peace. Me too, my brother from another rank. Is there anything you want me to know, or you just want to get high? I felt the breeze come across my hand again. Got it. Silence, let you smoke. Matter of fact, I got you. Let me roll you up. I rolled it up. I sat it down on the ground. I put one rock down, put the block. I rolled it up. I put down a rock on the ground, put the blunt on top, and another rock on top of that just to hold the blunt in place. And baby, when I tell you this wind kept on kicking up around this damn blunt, spirit got hard. And I was right along. I started hearing bells and chants and stomps like I was in the middle of a power. I'm a little high and a whole lot of ignorant, and I'm feeling it. So the next thing I know, I'm just, hi-yo, what the, hi-yo, what the. That's not the words, but hi-yo, what. Now my brain is going to a whole different place. I'm straight into Finding Nemo. When they standing over the boat, I'm giggling my ass off. And I say, shark bait. The spirit came in with, ooh, ha, ha. I'm on the ground rolling. The white lady who working on the front desk, I guess she see what's happening in the back on the camera. So she come back there. She opened up the back door. She say, you okay? I said, I'm fine, lady, man, you bitch. A gust of wind came and hit that door so hard, pushed her back into the damn bitch. I proceed to laugh with spirit a little while longer. Blunt done. Go back into the. Everybody in the room knocked the fuck out. I climb in the bed, go to sleep. When I wake up, somebody asked me, did you hear chanting last night? Huh? What are you talking about? She said, it sounded like a powwow outside. Y'all ain't hear that? I said, for real? What it sound like? She said, girl, it sounded so stupid. Hey, yo, what the? But it was loud, like multiple people. I said, woof. I tried to spit her off. I was like, girl, you must have been sleeping real good, because I ain't hear none of that. My bed right here. You didn't hear none of that? I looked over. You was just knocked the fuck out. I sure was. Yeah, I was. The girl dusted off. She don't ask no more questions. As we finna go downstairs to get some breakfast, one of the other people that's in the room, because it's 4 of us that's in this room. So, one of the other people was like, why is there so much tobacco on the floor? I look on the floor by the door where my shoes is. It's a whole line of tobacco from the door to my shoes. They say, Kat, I know you ain't sprinkled no tobacco on the floor. I say, I took out the garbage and it must have had a hole in the bag. They take it, they dust it off. I know that it was tobacco on the bottom of my shoe. And I can't tell them that I snuck out this room last night to go outside and smoke with the goddamn spirits because something moved in me. Like I knew something was calling me out there and I was definitely going because it was all good vibes. How do I explain that to 3 regular people? I can't. So look, we go downstairs, right? We finna go get, everything is good. Good until I see the lady at the front desk. Lady at the front desk say, so did you have fun last night with spirit? Girl, if you ain't nobody, bitch, where you come from? I say, oh, I'm sorry, you must have me confused with somebody else. She said, no, I'm more than positive that was you outside last night. You was in the back, right? I said, no, girl, it wasn't me. It wasn't me. This lady so fucking confused. She like, I could have swore it was you outside with the Indian spirit. My roommate say, wait a minute, it was Indian spirits outside last night? Girl, if you don't put the shot to the op, put the shot to the. She like, she don't tell y'all that she can talk to spirits. Somebody get me the fuck out of here. Just then, something starts burning in the kitchen area. So the front desk lady, she go running off because the alarms is going off and shit. So my roommate, she like, so it was Indian spirits outside and you was out there with them? And I look at her, I said, didn't last night we look at that woman and say she was higher than giraffe ass? Ain't no way in hell she saw me outside talking to no damn spirits. Girl, do you hear you? She was like, but I could have swore I heard Indians last night. One of the other roommates was like, well, you know, we was watching that old school Western, so maybe you heard it from that. Yes! That's what you heard it from, girl. You hallucinating. Don't let the little crackhead front desk lady send you off. And I'm so glad that she took that, because, like, how do you really sit up here and explain to normal people that you was outside smoking peace pipe with dead Indian spirits? You can't. It don't work out the way you want it to, except for right now. But, I mean, at the same time, y'all not normal, so... Hello, good morning. I heard y'all was mad at me. I don't give a damn. I give you a story time when I want to give you a story time. Like right now. Let's... Boom, boom, it's story time. Boom, boom, paranormal Chicago active. With Cat G. Stop being mad at me. Some of these stories that I want to tell y'all, I gotta get clearance to tell y'all. Otherwise, I'm gonna be in trouble. And I don't like y'all enough for that. Today, we are talking about the time that I walked into a fairy birthday party. Let me tell y'all something about me. One thing for sure and two things for certain. When I know that I don't belong in a place, baby, I'ma leave. My mama always told me, don't ever go nowhere where you have to ask to go. And definitely don't go places where you know for a fact that people don't like you. I had this so-called friend who thought that it would be funny as hell to invite me to a club. And see, here's the thing. Usually that would be fine, but the club that he invited me to was a party of somebody who I absolutely hate. Like, this person know every time I see this other person's face, we get the cracking on sight. Like, she ain't even got to say nothing. My fist is in her mouth. If we make eye contact, my soul is ready to jump, okay? Ain't no stopping this hate train for her. So why he would take me to this party, I have no idea. We standing outside, waiting to get in the club, we in the line. I keep on getting this feeling of, you should not walk into this place. Now, if I sit up here and tell him this, it's gonna be a whole problem. I don't feel like dealing with this shit, so fuck it, we gonna go in. But as soon as something show itself, I'm about this. 20 minutes we in this park. Nothing is going wrong, but I feel the energy pressure. Something is watching me. I got red flags. I got my defense guard. I do a little mantra. I ask the universe to reveal it to me. And here come this man, stand in front of me. He got a drink. He trying to hand it to me. Everything about this man says, don't take this fucking. He trying to talk to me, talking about how he seen me from across the room. He wanted to get to know me, yada, yada, yada. I tell him no thank you. I take notice that he's actively trying to look me in the eye. And here's the thing about people who like force you to look them in the eye. I don't like them. Those people are usually devious as fuck and know how to manipulate you just by the way that you look at them. Now I know I'm getting under his skin because he say, well, if you would just look at me and have a conversation, I'm sure you would change your mind. Now you done fucked up. I am no longer me. I am Phoenix. I look him in the eye, his face go white. I touch his hand and I tell him to drink the drink. He get the shaking. He like, no, I bought it. It's for you. And I was like, no, you can drink. He get the shaking and he bringing it up to his. My so-called friend put his hand on my shoulder. He say, Phoenix, I think you should go outside. I stopped. I looked at him. He dropped his hand and he took a step back. I said, you know what? You're right, because everybody in danger right now. Now, when I walk outside, here's the thing. Outside is not the outside that I just left from outside from. If you from Chicago, think back in the day, up north on Weed Street, where all the clubs used to be. You know good and goddamn well that that area is packed with people inside the clubs and outside the clubs. The whole damn street was damn near a club itself because it was so many people out there. And them people was out there until 4 o'clock in the fucking morning. So why the hell is it 1 a.m. and I step out this club and it's absolutely deserted on this street on a Saturday? All my red flags is waving so hard that they starting to tether at this fucking point. One of the bouncers step out the club and say, where you going, star child? I don't even look back. I just get to walking. In the direction that I'm walking is North and Claiborne. That's a busy street. Get to the... As soon as I turn the corner, guess what I see? The other end of Weed Street. It ain't North and Claiborne. Oh, I'm trapped in the loop. Oh, I'm trapped in the loop. I don't know how the fuck I got here. I don't remember walking into a portal. I could have swore that I didn't walk into a portal. I checked the area because I had the red flags, but I was trying to be a good friend. I don't know how the fuck I got here. I reach around my neck to feel my necklace. This bitch is gone. Oh Lord, where my ward charm go? Where it go, Lord? Where? Then it finally dawned on me. The so-called friend, he took my jacket off. That bitch took my motherfucking ward charm. He is the reason why I don't give people second chances. Once they prove themselves to be a certain thing, you got to get the fuck on away from me. But here I am, trying to be nice, trying to work on the friendship, right? Be the bigger person, right? Now my stupid ass is trapped. Baby, I get to unloading every mantra that I possibly can. I'm almost to the middle of the block. I don't hear nothing. There's no cars. There's no water. Why do I say water? Because the Chicago River is right. There's no people. There's no music. I see clubs. I see lights coming from the clubs. No music. I asked the universe to put me where I need to be. As I'm coming closer to the club that I was initially in, I finally get to hearing music. You know how it be a slither of space in between buildings? You know how like warehouses, they stretch down the whole block, but they actually be individual warehouses. Like they got walls on the inside that you can't see that the back. Okay, well where I'm at, there should be nothing right here. It should be a solid brick. When the fuck did a little club get right here? I don't know. This some Harry Potter shit. Y'all know what I'm talking about. I'm talking about that scene on Harry Potter when they went to the Sirius Black House and Dumbledore or whoever the fuck it was tapped the damn gate 3 times and then the building started separating and out of nowhere a whole house just bing, right? That shit. Yes, that's what I'm talking about. Cause ain't no way in hell, as many times as I have been on this street, I have never in my life seen no motherfucking club right here. But seeing how this is the only place that I actually hear something coming from and I don't have any red flags going off about, I'm taking my ass in. I walk in the door and I'm instantly like, oh fuck. And the reason why is because I'm gonna say this and somebody is gonna be so mad, but I don't fucking care because y'all are annoying. It looked like the AKAs came and threw up in this motherfucking bar. I said AKAs are so fucking annoying. Yo. So preppy, so fucking bougie, just so proper. I hate when I tell you all these bitches look at me and I'm looking at them and I'm like, oh, just out of all the type of fate to run into, it would be these bitches. The girl walk up to me, she say, I'm sorry, you gotta be in the wrong place because you are not in pink and green. I said, bitch, if you don't get the fuck away from me, get the fuck on. Where's the high fae at? All these bitches clutch they pearls. Shut up with all this prissy frou-frou ass shit. Where's she at? The lady come from behind the box. She say, okay, excuse me, who are you? Hello, I'm the star child. Some trapped me over here. I don't know what the fuck I'm in. Get me the fuck out. She look out the door. It's men walking up and down the block. She closed the door. She look at me. She say, wait a minute. What? You heard what I said. I'm a star child. I'm trapped in this bitch. Get me the fuck out. Like a beacon of salvation. Out the corner of my ear, I hear, Lil Angie, hallelujah. Hallelujah. I turn, I look at this lady. I said, ma'am, I don't know you, but clearly you know my mama. Get me out of here. I don't know how the hell I got here. She say, wait, come sit, come. I sit, I tell her everything that was going on. She was like, your mama said you was supposed to stay away from that man a long time ago. Why you with him? I want to be disciplined from the afterlife. I was trying to be a good person, okay? Forgive and forget, okay? And then what you told me, okay? I'm here because of what you told me, okay? So, tell this woman to get me the fuck out. The lady starts laughing. She zoned out again. She come back and she say, okay, your mama said that yes, you're right, but you should have listened to the red flags. He's a no-no person. Go out the back door. Okay, whatever. The girls take me to the back door. Before I walk out the back door, they give me a brand new amulet. They bless me. And when I walk out the door, y'all, I'm walking into my house. This up here is where the club was. This down here is where I lived. Explain to me how I'm walking through my back door right now. Huh? How I'm walking through my back door right now? I walk through the door, my daddy look at me, I look at him, he say, why are you coming through the back door? Don't ask no questions, old man. Back. I walk past Nick, he say, why your heels so high? Why you dressed like that? Don't ask no questions, old man. I'm grown back. I get downstairs in my room. The so-called friend get to call on my phone, talking about some, hey, where you at? What you doing? I'm at home. He get an attitude. You ain't at home. I said, that I. What? Am I at home? Yeah, you at home. He say, how the fuck you get at home? I said, don't worry about that shit. But know that whatever the fuck you thought you was finna do to me, it's finna happen to your mama and your sister, bitch. Back. And it did. And it did. His mama got essayed at work and his sister got snatched. Not saying that they deserved it, but I mean, you know, other people can be tortured for your transgression. So be smart about that.
I think, can we travel between dimensions?
Scary Storytime Appalachian Mountain Edition. While I Make Slime, sent in by supporters. Get your money's worth and let it drain. It's the last of my glue. Bonnie and her cousin went hiking up in North Carolina a lot, okay? And on the specific day, they passed an old man sitting on what looked like a fallen tree. Now they waved and smiled at him. He smiled back and nodded at them and said, don't go too far today. The fog is hungry for women. They kind of awkwardly laughed because they didn't really realize what he said, and it sounded like some type of mountain folklore. And when they turned around, they walked 2 steps. They turned around, he wasn't freaking there. The creepiest part was where he was sitting had like a whole bunch of like fallen dead leaves, right? But they didn't hear no crunching when he got up and walked away, so the conclusion is he didn't get up to walk away. He disappeared. They kind of brushed this off and they kept walking when out of nowhere a whole bunch of like fog appeared and the woods just got eerily silent. Keep in mind, it's the middle of the freaking day. At this point, they standing right next to each other but could hardly see each other. They're freaked out. So what they do, they look at each other and they run right back to the car. And when they make it to the car, and like the dust on the back of their car was like, I told you to walk back. Okay, I said that wrong. When they walked back to the car, the fog, like, you know the dirt on the back of somebody's car? What was written on it was, I told y'all girls not to walk too far. There we go. I had to like check the email. Y'all, my phone has no space, so the amount of times I added shaving cream in this slime, like, it didn't even show, but like, it's kind of stiff. I don't know. But it's like really pretty, so I guess.
In this house that you're looking at right now happened one of the scariest stories that you will ever hear. And if you're like, bro, you literally say that every time. Well, not this time, because this time everything was recorded and it's genuinely scary. I'm telling you, you will not sleep tonight. It all started in 1975, where inside this house right here, weird things started happening. The weird things I'm talking about are loud knocking sounds on the walls, furniture sliding on the floor by themselves, and chests and drawers opening and closing. These weird things I told you kept happening for a while, okay? So this is where the family noticed something. They all noticed that these things mostly happen when Janet is present. Janet is the second daughter. She was only 11. And every time she goes into a room, weird stuff happened there. It's like they're following her. So this is where her mother, Peggy, was like, nah, fuck this. Something is not alright. Let's call the police. But when she called the police and they arrived, they were not convinced. They were like, okay, we know that you're capping, so make this quick. Peggy, the mother, responded by saying, look, Janet is sleeping in her bedroom right now. Stay there for 1 minute. I swear to God, something's gonna happen. So police went to Janet's bedroom. This is her, by the way. She's sleeping. And police were like, okay, we're waiting. Oh my God, bro. We're still waiting. Nothing's happened. Fuck. They couldn't believe what they just saw. The chair who was just right here moved by itself and fell right next to them. This is where the officers realized that they're not built for this shit. They were like, Peggy, please call somebody that specializes in these things. Our job here is done. We're not coming back again. It's important to know that the chair moving by itself was not the only thing that happened. The toys in this room were getting thrown in the air and beds were shaking violently. And if you're like, bro, nah, they just talking, they're obviously exaggerating. The blanket, the fucking blanket, is moving by itself. Nobody's touching it, and this thing is levitating. How the fuck can you not be scared after seeing this? Now, things like this kept happening all the time, everywhere where Janet was, and it got witnessed by so many people. You got police officers, paranormal investigators, you got journalists who came here all the time to take pics, and neighbors. You know it's bad when even neighbors saw it. All the stuff that I kept talking about from the beginning of the video until now, well, let me tell you that it's just the beginning, okay? It's a warm-up comparing what I'm about to tell you. Because this is where the real scary shit begins. Because after a while, Janet started talking in a deep male voice. See, Janet, who was just a little girl, literally 11 years old, went from a kid's voice like hi to hey, what's up? Oh, this is scary as hell. Imagine a kid with a voice like that. It will make some people faint, but this is not the end. Whenever she went to her room, she was getting thrown out of her bed, and this is a real photo. Obviously, when you're flying and getting tossed around like that, you will end up by having some scratches and bruises. She even felt a choking sensation and a heavy pain in her chest. So Peggy, the mother, what the fuck are you doing at this point? If my kid was getting tossed around in the air just like that, I'm either leaving the house or scrapping with a jinn or the spirit or whoever is doing this, cause what the hell? When nobody succeeded to explain what's happening, Peggy just remained patient, hoping that all of this will end, and surprisingly it did. By 1978, so a year later, Janet finally started talking normally, you know, like a child again. The knocking and all the stuff getting dragged around heavily decreased, which makes all of this even more dark and intriguing. Why all of this happened and why only 1 year? Well, I guess we'll never know.
Let's read a couple scary stories I found on Reddit. This story takes place 4 years ago and it still haunts me to this day. It was Christmas night and my family and I were driving home from this fancy restaurant. I, unlike my family, wasn't tired, so the 45-minute drive seemed perpetual. On top of that, my little sister was constantly moaning about how her friend didn't get her anything for Christmas. After about 20 minutes of driving, my dad stopped at a gas station to get some cigarettes, and my sister, brother, and mother all got out to pee. I stayed in the car as I had already gone before we left. Once they all left, I decided to play a few games on my phone. I looked at the car clock and saw that 10 minutes had passed, so I immediately wondered what was taking them so long. As soon as I peered out of the car window, I saw a man staring at our car. The man startled me as I didn't know how long he had been watching. What made it even more unnerving is that he had a plain blank face. No expression was shown. It was hard to make out any features as it was pretty dark and he wasn't standing in an illuminated part of the station. He was about 5'9" and looked to be middle-aged. Once he saw me notice him, he started walking towards the car, and I'd be lying to you if I said I wasn't scared. Luckily, my dad came back with the rest of the family just as the man took a couple of steps. My dad apologized and told me he had been in an argument with the cashier. I didn't care. I was just glad that my dad was with me. I took another glance at the man outside, and he was still staring, but this time he had an annoyed look on his face. We drove off, and for the rest of the car ride, I couldn't stop thinking about that man. This wouldn't have been too bad if it had ended there, but it didn't. Later that night, I was watching YouTube while everyone else was asleep. Luckily for me, a storm was raging over us. I enjoy storms. It makes me cozy as I'm laying in bed. I put my phone down and just enjoyed the ambiance. That didn't last for long as I heard something smash into the window behind me. I lurched forward and nearly fell out of bed. I thought a bird had just smashed into the window. I parted the blinds and what I saw next haunted me. I saw a man standing out by my parents' cars, looking up at my room. I took a closer look and I nearly had a heart attack. It was the same man that I saw at the gas station, only this time, when our eyes met, he grinned. Being the 14-year-old I was, I did the manly thing and screamed at the top of my lungs. My dad came running down the stairs and entered my room. "Why are you screaming?" he said. I told him about the man, and I explained everything that had happened. My dad grabbed a baseball bat and told me to call the police. After 10 minutes, the police turned up outside our house and found the man in our shed. He got arrested, and that was the last time I saw him. The next day, my dad inspected the house, and we found the handle of our back door had been damaged, but not completely broken. This gives me an eerie feeling, as if he actually managed to get in, he could have harmed, or possibly unalived us. I know skinwalker stories are a little overplayed, but this is genuinely one of the most terrifying experiences I've ever had. For a little context, I'm half Native American, with most of my family being from Oklahoma. I never really believed any of the stories I heard as a kid until I'm pretty sure I had a real encounter. When I was a kid, maybe 4th grade, me, my mom, and stepdad would visit my grandparents' property in Azle, Texas, to hunt or fish and whatnot. Their property was surrounded by a couple of acres of land, so sometimes I would wander off from the house and explore wherever I could. One day, I decided to go for a short walk in the woods like normal. Maybe 5 minutes into my walk, mind you, I could still see the house in the distance. I hear my mom's voice say my name. It sounded distant, but so distorted and close at the same time. I called back to her and looked around me. As I was turning around, I see this tall creature with gnarly teeth and gray, tattered skin looking at me from behind a tree. I stood there completely shocked because of how terrifying this thing looked. It started to move from behind the tree towards my direction. I took off running and crying back towards the house. This is easily one of the most terrifying things that's ever happened to me, and I never spoke about it until a year ago. That last story is going to be on my podcast, which comes out tomorrow, and that will be available to listen to on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and YouTube. You can find my podcast and my YouTube in my bio.
The devil offered me a deal. You always hear about the devil making deals in Hollywood. And I live in Hollywood, but I never thought he would try to make a deal with me. Now, this isn't the craziest thing I've been through, but it's probably a close second. Now, I am of Christian faith, and I have a great relationship with God. But if anything, I feel like that makes you more susceptible to this kind of thing. I mean, you never hear about, like, an atheist getting possessed. I don't know, just a thought. Anyways, it was just a normal day and I blinked. But when I opened my eyes, I wasn't where I was before. I was now sitting at a hardwood desk. I remember all of this in very clear detail, except for his face. In front of me on the desk was a stack of paper and a pen. When I looked at him, I knew he was the devil. He didn't say he was, I just knew. His eyes were gold like the ember of flame. I don't think I'll ever forget those eyes. They made me think of the Cheshire Cat from Alice in Wonderland. And then he spoke. He said, I have an offer for you. Someone you know has sold their soul. You can give me your soul to save theirs, but you will have nothing you want in life, and I will own your soul forever. No love, no success, nothing that you've ever wanted. Or you can keep your soul and have everything you've ever wanted in life, but their soul will remain as mine. My biggest question? Who? But the devil is tricky, and he just said, someone you know. That could mean a friend, an acquaintance, a family member. Now the obvious answer is selling your soul is wrong. So why did it feel like that's what he wanted me to choose? His offer raised a lot of questions. Who would you give up your life and also your eternal life for? I would save my family, I would save my friends, but shouldn't the answer be I would save anyone? All of our souls should have equal value to God. But selling your soul is wrong. And I don't know what answer is right. So I asked for some time to decide, and then I blinked.
Kenneka Jenkins. A lot of people know her as the girl in the freezer, which is really sad. You will never not convince me that something horrible happened that night, because how do you go missing inside of a hotel only to be found dead inside of one of their walk-in freezers 24 hours later? So many things don't add up about this case, so let's talk about it. On September 8th, 2017, 19-year-old Kenneka Jenkins borrowed her mom's car and left their home in Chicago, and she was really excited about going to a private party with her friends at the nearby Crown Plaza Hotel in Rosemont. The party was being held in room 926, and she arrived a little after 1 that morning. People at the party reported seeing her drink a little bit, but they said that she wasn't acting like her usual self. She seemed really sad, and while she would normally be dancing and having fun, for some reason she was kind of just sitting down and not really talking to a lot of people. Kenneka last spoke with her sister at around 1:30 that morning, not long after arriving, and what happened after that has never been fully explained. Over the next couple of hours, Kenneka was seen walking the halls of the hotel with her friends, and security camera footage shows her appearing to be intoxicated and stumbling throughout the hotel. At around 3:20 a.m., she was seen on camera near the front desk, and about 5 minutes later, she was seen exiting the elevator on one of the lower floors. The last time Kenneka was seen alive was at 3:32 a.m., where she is spotted on security footage walking into one of the hotel's kitchens. She's then seen walking around the corner where she disappears. Now, the kitchen that Kenneka walked into was under construction and at the time was not currently being used, so it was completely empty. The kitchen was kind of tucked away, and on the way there, multiple hotel employees saw Kenneka very obviously intoxicated, staggering through the hotel alone, but nobody stopped her. So it's a little crazy to me that she was able to find the kitchen in the first place, let alone enter. It wasn't locked or blocked off from the public, but it it was a really eerie scene. About an hour later, Kanika's friends started calling Kanika's mom in her car saying that they couldn't find her, so they left the party. They reportedly had Kanika's phone as she left it behind in the hotel room. So shortly after she disappeared, Kanika's friends started texting each other saying how she was really drunk and now missing. And someone texted back saying that they need to find her and that they can't believe they lost her. Her friends told Kanika's mom that she was last seen leaving the hotel room with a couple of people heading downstairs, and that they stayed behind to collect their belongings. Obviously freaking out, Kanika's mom went to the hotel as fast as she could, getting there at around 5:30 a.m., and she immediately began searching for her. She asked the hotel management for the security footage from that night, and this is super frustrating, but they refused to give it to her, saying that they couldn't release the footage until she was reported missing to the police. So then of course Kanika's mom tried reporting her missing with the Rosemont Public Safety Department, but they told her that it would be a good idea to wait a few more hours because she'll probably just turn up. But that is not what happened, and I can't even imagine the anger this family was feeling at this point. Kanika was officially reported missing at 1 p.m. that day, and although the police notified hotel management, literally no one showed any urgency in the matter. After a few hours went by with no one really doing anything about her disappearance, Kanika's mom and sister went back to the hotel and began knocking on as many of the guest doors as they could to try and find any information. And instead of helping her, the employees at the hotel got annoyed and actually called the police on them. It wasn't until 10 p.m., 9 hours after she was reported missing, that police reviewed the security footage and saw Kanika, but it would then take another 2 hours for them to locate her. Authorities found Kanika deceased in the kitchen that was under construction. She was laying face down inside the walk-in freezer. The only trauma she had on her body was a cut on her ankle, a chipped tooth, and a small injury to her thigh. Her brain had also swelled, and I'm not sure if that's just naturally what happens after death, but the way she was found is incredibly bizarre. She was found to be missing one of her shoes and socks, but on the security footage of her walking into the kitchen, presumably when she was last alive right before she died, she had both of her shoes on, and I can't find whatever happened to her other shoe or where it might be. Another thing is that her clothes were extremely dirty and her hair was matted down, and that's something that has never been explained. Now for the condition of the freezer. After leaving the door open for 2 hours, the temperature was 34 degrees, so I can only assume that it was much, much colder with the doors shut. During the investigation, police reviewed the security footage that showed Kanika walking into the kitchen. She was alone, but conveniently enough, there was no camera pointing directly at the walk-in freezer, so the footage never actually showed her entering the freezer at all. After interviewing Kanika's friends that were with her at the party the night she died, their stories all seemed to be inconsistent with one another. No illegal drugs were found in her system, but her blood alcohol level was 0.112, and mysteriously, traces of the drug topiramate were found, and this is a drug that's used to treat epilepsy and migraines. Kanika was not prescribed this, so how it ended up in her system, no one knows. Even with certain evidence pointing to something sinister having possibly occurred, Kanika's death was ultimately ruled accidental. According to the medical examiner, she died from hypothermia, and the alcohol and drug found in her system was a contributing factor. If taken together, alcohol and topiramate can speed up the effects of hypothermia, and based on the lesions found in her stomach, this is likely what happened. Because of these findings, the Rosemont Police Department said that no foul play suspected, and unfortunately, Kanika's death was just a tragic accident. They believe that Kanika was overly intoxicated and just so happened to walk into the freezer herself, and then she possibly passed out and died from the cold, all willingly, and that no one else was involved. But a lot of people, including Kanika's family, don't believe this, and here's why. First off, the fact that she was found in a kitchen that was under construction and not being used is odd. There were huge plywood doors that had a padlock on them, yet the kitchen wasn't locked or taped off to keep the public from entering. There's a video of the exact path that Kanika would have had to have taken to get to the kitchen, and it isn't that easy to get to if I'm being honest, especially when drunk or drugged. It's so far off the beaten path, and I'm all for exploring new places, but this location in specific is just odd. Now, although the kitchen wasn't in use, for some reason the freezer was on, and not only would she have had to walk into the cooler that it was in, she would have had to also open up the door to the freezer itself that was inside the cooler. Meanwhile, the lights were off in both, so it was pitch black. Even being drunk, many question why anyone would do this. It was especially cold in there, which oftentimes sobers a person up, but no one really knows what happened when she went in there. One of the biggest questions questions is why she couldn't get out on her own. The door to the freezer wasn't locked on the outside, and there was a handle on the inside where she was at that would enable someone to open the door and get out on their own. The family's legal team has argued that someone could have secured the door from the outside, not knowing she was in there. And this isn't incredibly unlikely because while Kanika was actively missing, before she was found, one of the hotel employees actually walked into the same freezer where Kanika's body was and didn't even see her. How? I have no idea. So the fact that she could have been accidentally trapped inside somehow isn't super far-fetched. But as far as I can find, no one else is seen entering the kitchen on the security cameras. This brings me to another point. A conspiracy theory has run rampant about the security footage having been manipulated. Some believe that the footage cut out certain parts of the night, and adding fuel to this theory is the fact that multiple cameras in the hotel that could have been useful in seeing what happened just so happened to not be working that night. Some believe the hotel security could possibly be involved, and that's because the night Kanika died, there were several noise complaints about the party she was at from other guests, yet security did nothing to shut it down. They also didn't investigate a minor who was obviously in a disoriented state, roaming and stumbling throughout their hotel, and why they didn't really beats me. One really creepy thing about this case, though, is what happened to an independent journalist who was investigating it after the fact. Zach Stoner was a popular YouTuber who made a lot of videos interviewing local people from Chicago, but once news started spreading about Kanika's mysterious death, he began interviewing the case and even interviewed some of her friends that were with her the night she died. But not long after, Zach received a phone call from an unidentified woman threatening him to leave the case alone for his own safety. And this obviously scared him, so he agreed to not release the interview footage. And then his house was broken into, and all of his camera gear was stolen. But after debating what to do, he did end up releasing the interviews he had and all of his findings on the case. But in a tragic turn, Zach would be shot and killed not even a year later. Police reportedly arrested 5 members of a local gang who were responsible, but they ended up getting released, and none of them were ever charged in his murder. I'm not sure if this has anything directly to do with Kanika's case, but it's just odd that this happened all within the same year. Kanika's family was able to file a lawsuit against the Crown Plaza for failing to secure the area, and for not shutting down an illegal party. They were also able to sue for not thoroughly checking the security footage in a timely manner, and they actually won $10 million because of it. But it's now been 8 years, and whether you believe Kanika was met with foul play or not, I think we can all agree that whatever happened to her that night was sinister, and it should have never happened.
You can't make this stuff up. Might have known the story of real-life boogeyman.
Weird spooky story time. This is a story about someone who opened a door they weren't meant to. So this is a story I found on Reddit, and it's wild. So this person said that she used to be an atheist, a spiritualist at best. She said that in her late teens and early 20s she got really deep into the occult. Not casually. Like seriously studying astral projection, lucid dreaming, all of it. She said every time she got close to astral projecting, she felt like something was reaching into her core, their solar plexus, and was trying to pull out her soul. Not a metaphor, a literal sensation, and it terrified her. After that, things started escalating. She started having vivid nightmares. She would see figures in her peripheral vision and constantly felt watched. And in her words, she said it felt like something attached itself to her. And then there was this moment that changed everything for her. She felt that she had an epiphany. She said she was taking a shower and everything felt normal until suddenly there was a thought that she felt was put into her mind and not her own thought. She described it as feeling like a download into her mind. The realization was this, that she was essentially trying to eat from the tree of knowledge, that she was reaching into parts of the universe that humans are not meant to touch. Not because it's forbidden, but because it's dangerous. She said that because she was trying to manipulate reality, it was as if she was trying to play God. And she felt instant shame in a way she never felt before. She said she finally understood why Adam and Eve covered themselves. It was a soul-level nakedness. For the next 2 days, she sat in turmoil. She bought a Bible, she prayed, but most of it was just fueled by fear, because whatever had been watching her turned angry. And here's a detail that really stuck with me. She said that she felt a kind of hatred that was not human. Pure, unfiltered, predatory hatred. And that's exactly what she felt was coming for her. On the 3rd day of her having this epiphany, she was exhausted and terrified. She finally told a coworker about what was happening because she knew she was Christian. She said she was a little embarrassed to tell her what was happening and it made her feel insane. But her coworker didn't even blink. She just told her to say the Lord's Prayer and declare Jesus as her savior. So on the drive home that night, that's exactly what she did. And she said immediately, the feeling was gone. She said almost like it shut the door behind her. It was just gone. She said she broke down crying in pure relief. She said since that night, she hasn't experienced anything paranormal. No nightmares, no shadows, no vibrations, nothing. It all ended the moment she called on Jesus. And here's the interesting part. She doesn't tell this story often, even in Christian circles, because people often judge or doubt the supernatural, even though the Bible's full of it. But this was her journey, and this is why she became a believer. Let me know in the comments what you guys think, or if you've ever had an experience like this, send it my way.
I'm a descendant of witches, so I've always been spiritual, but the experience I wanted to share really creeps me out. It happened in the condo we lived in prior to our current house. It started with a ghost cat. A friendly and warm presence that would simply join us for a sleep occasionally, gently curling up beside one of the family members at night. Then something happened in my sister's bedroom, the master bedroom. At first, she didn't notice it, not consciously, but late at night she began feeling something. The bed would shift slightly, an indent left behind, like someone had just sat down at the end of her bed. She turned around thinking it was me or maybe the cat, but nothing would be there. She said she felt watched somehow. Sometimes it felt like an invisible weight pressing down on the mattress, just enough to be unnerving. She thought she was imagining it, but it always happened while she was sleeping. The bed dipped as if someone had sat at the foot. She would turn, expecting to see me, but instead would see only the slight indentation on the bedspread, clear as day. The room felt colder and uneasy, she said, like it was holding its breath. One night, I was in my sister's room hanging out, and I'd fallen asleep on her bed. I'd woken up to that exact same feeling, like someone was there, just watching me, staring at me while I sleep. I expected the family cat, real, not ghost. But there was nothing, just the heavy, unnerving sense of presence and a clear depression in the bed. The thing that unsettled me most was the closet. Whenever it was left slightly ajar, the feeling of her would grow stronger. I'm not sure why. Maybe it was just a coincidence, but every time the closet door would open, the air would change at night. The room would become thick with something I couldn't explain, and yet both my sister and I agreed that it was the presence of a woman, and we felt it, like her presence wasn't one of peace or kindness like the ghost cat. When we moved out, it felt like a weight had lifted, but it didn't leave behind a silence. Instead, we brought something with us. The ghost cat followed us, but the woman, luckily, did not. About 2 months later, we moved out. I got a message from the woman who bought our condo, as we'd exchanged numbers after the sale. She messaged to ask me, almost casually, if I'd ever gotten a weird feeling in the master bedroom. That room, she said, felt wrong no matter what she did. She moved out shortly after that. To this day, we have no idea what it was in that room. Thank you for reading my Creep of the Week and sending lots of love from Ontario, Canada.
In 1964, during his final semester of college in Wisconsin, a 21-year-old man named Harry decided to take an acting class. He believed it would be an easy A, and he'd always been pretty shy, and so he figured this class might be able to help him get over that. But this class wound up having a much larger impact on Harry's life than he ever could have imagined. Not only did he meet his future wife in this class, but he also realized he loved acting, something he never thought he would like, and he decided after college that that was the thing he was going to pursue. And so after he graduates later that year, he and his girlfriend get married, and then they fly out to Hollywood, California, where Harry auditions for Columbia Pictures' New Talent Program, which is basically this program that's designed to help new actors and actresses get parts in Hollywood because it's so hard to do that. And so he's accepted into this program, he signs a contract with them that pays him almost nothing, and right away they start shopping him around for different parts in TV shows and movies, but nobody is interested in Harry. Nobody. The only roles he was getting were incredibly minor and usually non-speaking, and so it was really not advancing his career. Then, in 1966, so 2 years after he and his wife had arrived in Hollywood, Harry received what seemed like his first big break. He was offered a speaking role in a movie, although it was a very minor role. It was a 60-second bit where Harry basically walked on screen in this hotel, and he started calling out for a particular guest, and when he finds this guest, he walks up and gives him a piece of paper, and then he leaves. So it's a forgettable scene, but it's a real scene in a real movie. And so this was a big deal for Harry. And so after Harry goes over to the studio and he films this whole scene and it's all done, he goes back over to the headquarters of the new talent program at Columbia Pictures. And as soon as he goes inside, one of the producers that was in charge of this new talent program, who had apparently had a chance already to see this 60-second scene in this movie that Harry was in, he calls Harry over and asks him to go up to his office for a second. So the pair go up to his office, they both sit down, and the guy looks at him and says, look, I just gotta shoot you straight here. You're not gonna make it in Hollywood. You're not gonna be a movie star. When Tony Curtis was told to carry groceries across this room in one of his first movies, everybody knew right away as he's carrying those groceries that that guy, he's going to be a movie star. You could see it in the scene, even though all he was doing was carrying groceries. And when you did your scene as the bellhop walking around the hotel, I just didn't see it. You don't have the X factor. You're not going to be a movie star. For reference, Tony Curtis, the guy this producer was referencing, was a huge movie star in the 1950s and 1960s. And so Harry, after getting this horrible comment made about him, he pauses for a second, and then he leans across the table and looks at this producer and squints his eyes and says, you know, if Tony was such a good actor, shouldn't we have believed he was just a grocery delivery boy, not a movie star? And at this totally smart aleck remark, the producer fired Harry on the spot. Harry would go on to sign a similar new talent program deal with Universal Studios, but again, he could not get a real part to save his life. And the feedback he finally got was, Harry, you're just not pretty enough, and you're not really that talented. By the mid-1970s, Harry was in his mid-30s, and while he still aspired to be an actor and wanted to be an actor, he was making almost no money from acting. And so he decided, instead of acting, he was going to become a carpenter. That was going to be his full-time job, despite the fact he knew nothing about carpentry. And so he literally, just because he has this interest in carpentry, goes to the library and checks out all these how to be a carpenter books. And over the next couple of weeks, he studies these books and does a couple projects around his own house. And then finally, he just felt confident enough, or he was just desperate enough for money, that he began going around to his network and asking people in Hollywood if they needed some woodworking, if they needed help from a carpenter. And surprisingly, lots of people took him up on his offer and they hired him to be their carpenter. And before long, Harry was dubbed the carpenter to the stars, which was kind of ironic because he actually was not a very good carpenter, and he was regularly seen on the job literally holding a book teaching him how to be a carpenter while doing the carpentry with his other hand. In 1976, Harry was a full-fledged carpenter and had been for about a year when one of his very close friends named Fred Roos, who was a casting director and film producer, gave him a call and told him he had a very unique opportunity for him. Now, at this point, Harry was not looking for any more acting roles. He kind of figured that that ship has sailed, even though he wishes he could be an actor. At this point, he had a wife, he had 2 sons, and so he's thinking, I gotta just keep doing this carpentry thing because I gotta pay the bills. So he says to Fred, you know, I appreciate the offer of whatever this is, but if it has to do with acting, you know, I'm just not interested. And Fred, who was one of the very few people in Hollywood who fundamentally believed Harry was destined to be a star, told Harry, no, this is different. This is not a pure go out and try out for the part and hope for the best. This is like put yourself in a good position and maybe somebody will discover you're as talented as you really are. And so Harry's like, okay, tell me about this opportunity, you know, I'm interested. And so Fred explained there was this really talented and eccentric film director who was trying to cast an upcoming movie. And the way he went about casting for movies was a little bit strange. Instead of having each of the actors and actresses show up and individually audition for their parts, he would group batches of actors and actresses and he would have them audition as a group, because that way he could tell if there was chemistry amongst some of the actors and actresses and he could gauge their individual talent. And so he had all these groups already planned out, but one of the groups was missing one male actor. Somebody had dropped out at the last minute and was not going to be there on the day of the audition. And so when Fred Roos heard through the grapevine that this director was going to be short this one person, he immediately reached out to the director and said, hey, I got your guy. There's this guy, Harry. He's done a little bit of acting. He's incredibly talented. You got to give him a chance. You know, at the minimum, he can come in there and he can at least just read the lines and help you do this audition. But I know he's available that day and I know he would love to help. And so this director tells Fred, okay, thank you. I'd love to have him come down, but stress to him, he is not auditioning for any part in this movie. I'm not bringing in some person and just throwing them in. It takes me a long time to find people that I want to audition, and he is not one of them. He is just there to facilitate the audition. He's just going to read the lines so the other people in his group can do their audition. And so after Fred stopped explaining the situation, Harry was actually kind of annoyed. He was annoyed that Fred had basically already volunteered him, and so he couldn't really even say no without making Fred look bad, and he didn't like the idea that this was basically a waste of his time. time. He was being asked to go read lines, but not even try out. So how was this even an opportunity? But Fred told him, look, worst case scenario, you meet some pretty powerful people in Hollywood. This director's a big deal. The people there are going to be big deals in Hollywood. So you'll meet them and maybe they will recognize your talent. Or maybe you get some new clients for your carpentry business. So no matter what, you get something out of it. And so finally, Harry says, okay, fine, I'll go do this thing. And so Harry goes to this audition, he's handed the script, and he's reminded repeatedly to not attempt to audition. Don't try to act, just read the lines. I don't care if you're monotone, you just read these lines because you're not auditioning. Everybody else is, you're not. Is that clear? And Harry's like, yes, I get it. I'm just reading the lines. And so Harry sits down and he starts reading the lines and he's trying to do what they told him to do, but the way he was actually feeling and his actual personality began seeping through. He started coming off as this really grumpy and sarcastic guy that just didn't care about anybody there. He was just totally bitter that he was in the situation he was in. And apparently, this is exactly what the director was looking for in one of the characters he was trying to cast. That kind of nonchalant, bravado, macho, alpha type guy who just didn't care about anybody. And so over the course of the day, as he's reading the script over and over again, not caring at all about how he's performing, he's just simply reading these lines and just being himself. He was actually doing this amazing job portraying one of the characters. And so they let Harry go the whole day. No one told him they were looking at him as a potential character. And then at the end of the day, when Harry was about to just throw the script in the trash and leave without talking to anyone, the film director, better known as George Lucas, walks up to Harry, better known as Harrison Ford, and says, wait a minute, I was wrong. You are perfect for this movie, Star Wars. You need to play Han Solo. And so Harrison Ford said, all right, I'll play Han Solo. And that role as Han Solo propelled Harrison Ford into the megastar that we know him as today. A few years after Harrison had starred in Star Wars and he was this total A-list celebrity, he was at a Hollywood studio in one of their restaurants when one of the waiters walked over to him with the silver tray, and on this silver tray was a single business card. So Harrison reaches over, he grabs the business card, the waiter walks away, and he looks at the card, and handwritten on it is the phrase, I missed my bet. And he flipped the card over, and it was the name of that producer from the new talent program that had called Harry into his office and said, you're never going to make it in Hollywood and you're fired. It was that guy, and he had apparently sent the waiter over to make amends because he was eating lunch in the same restaurant. And so Harrison would later say in interviews that at the time he got this card, and to this day that he was doing this interview, he said it gave him immense pleasure that when he looked up from this business card and he understood the situation, he knows this guy's in the room somewhere, as he looked around the room, he couldn't recognize the guy because he didn't know what he looked like. He was a nobody. And so instead of wasting any more time looking for this producer, he just looked at the card, chucked it, and went back to eating his lunch.
Imagine suddenly finding yourself on a missing persons website. It was 2011 in Philadelphia and Steve Carter was just getting ready for work. And he was doing what he always did, kind of half paying attention to the news while he was getting ready, but suddenly a segment flashed up that really caught his eye. It was this crazy case where a woman had no idea she was actually missing until she spotted herself on a missing child's website. Then it all came out that she was abducted as a child. Well, history was about to repeat itself. And he couldn't stop thinking about this story that he'd seen in the morning, so on his lunch break he decided to go onto the website. He was like, do you know what? I'm adopted. Like, I wonder if something had gone on in my childhood too. He actually said that he'd had a really lovely, amazing childhood. His adoptive parents couldn't have been nicer. But he did always wonder who his biological parents were, so he went onto the missing child's website. He typed in Hawaii male missing 34 years, and he could not believe what popped up on the screen and was now staring back at him. He was like, holy crap, that's me. He said literally, apart from the mullet, the age progression image was like staring at his twin. And the details on the website were absolutely chilling. This baby had been 6 months old, a little boy called Marks. In 1977 in Hawaii, his mum, Charlotte, had taken him out for a walk and had never returned. It sounds like she was really having some serious mental health issues because she just turned up at a stranger's house. She seemed to be pretty confused, and I guess the stranger asked what her name was and what her child's name was, and she gave fake names. Authorities headed over there and was like, okay, this woman is seriously going through something's not right here, and this child is not safe. The mum was admitted to a psychiatric hospital and baby Marks was taken into care. Meanwhile, the boy's poor dad was sick with worry. He was driving up, down, trying to scour the city to find his son anywhere. Sadly, because the fake names had been given, it made it virtually impossible to track them down. Eventually, the baby boy was actually put up for adoption, adoption and adopted by a lovely couple 3 years later. So after Steve found this on this website, he showed a bunch of his friends. He was like, do you think that looks like me? And they were like, absolutely. They were like, you definitely need to contact somebody. So he went through the whole process, the whole rigmarole of getting DNA tests done. Eventually, it was confirmed he was the missing child. And that wasn't all he discovered. He found out he actually had an older sister called Jennifer. Sadly, Steve actually didn't manage to reunite with his biological dad before he passed away in 2023, I believe, but they did have some phone calls and shared some letters, and I think they kind of put some pieces of the puzzle together themselves. Steve's dad said it had sent him absolutely crazy for years not knowing what had happened to them both. I guess there was some kind of comfort in the fact that Steve actually grew up to be incredibly happy. As for Charlotte the mum, it is a bit of a mystery what happened to her. Apparently, after she got admitted to that psychiatric unit, she just suddenly vanished a few days later.
Now, the crime in this story may be inspired by the song Goodbye Earl. Dennis Coates grew up in Arkansas. He is a single father trying to raise his son Kevin, and he works hanging up sheetrock. He eventually met a woman named Beverly Williams, and they got married in 1977 and had 3 daughters, and Beverly worked in a nursing home. Beverly and Dennis like to go out to the bars, especially a bar called the Skullcracker, which is a very tough bar where there's a lot of bar fights, but they would often hang out with a woman named Judy Flanagan and her brother Dale. Judy is also from Arkansas. She ended up getting married and moving on a farm, but in 2004, she separated from her husband and moved back in with her parents. And she's known Dennis and Beverly since they were kids. They all grew up together. On June 12, 2004, Beverly was worried about her husband. He went out to the bar the night before and he never came home, and she wanted to report him missing. So as soon as she was reporting him, they ended up finding a body. When police arrived on the scene, they did confirm it was Dennis because one of the officers is his neighbor and friend. So when they found him, he was underneath this blue tarp here. He had several lacerations. His throat was cut. Also, he had several puncture wounds to his chest, and also his wrists were cut so badly that they were almost cut off. There was not a lot of blood at the scene, so most likely he was unalive somewhere else and then dumped here. There was barely any evidence at the scene. There was tire tracks, but this was a major ATV road, so there was tons of tire tracks, but nothing leading up to his body. People were arriving to the scene, and one of them was Judy and her friend Christy, and Christy often babysat for the Coates. So she had claimed that the night before, Dennis had drove her home from the bar about 1 to 2 a.m., so they decided to bring her in for an interview. So it was Beverly, Dennis, Judy, and Dale were all at the Skullcracker that night. They left the bar about 10:30 p.m. They were all drinking heavily, went back to the Coates residence. They stayed for a little bit, and then eventually Dennis was driving her home, but on the way something had happened. On one of the roads, he had stopped to talk to some people in a white van. Apparently, Dennis knew these men in this white van, and he wanted to go drinking with them. So he got in their white van, and then Judy drove Dennis's truck back to his house, and her brother Dale was passed out on the couch, but her brother Dale ended up driving her home, and they went home together. So the next morning, when Beverly woke up, she realized her husband was still not home, so she contacted Judy and stated he never came home. So that's when Judy and her friend Christy decided to go searching for him and were taking all the back roads to try to find him. So the police go to the Coates resident and examine Dennis's truck and realize it is completely spotless, like someone had just washed it. Now, he works in sheetrock, and when you work in construction, there's dust and everything that gets in your vehicle. And I would know because my husband works in construction, and it's dusty everywhere, concrete dust, everything. But it was completely spotless. And according to people that knew him, he never washed his truck once. Judy is brought in for a second round of questioning, and she agrees to take a polygraph, but she does fail and shows deception. So they believe her story is not making sense. Police are going through Dennis's truck and notice some spots that appear to be bloodstains, but they also find that bleach and dish soap was used to clean out this truck, and you don't use bleach to clean out a vehicle. So they put down the tailgate, and they did find blood residue and also hair. And also in the truck, they found a single cassette tape of the song Goodbye Earl by the Dixie Chicks, or I believe they're called now the Chicks. And if you've never heard this song, it's about two best friends who plot to unalive one of their husbands. So Beverly and Judy are the prime suspects. So Dennis had an autopsy performed, and he was unalived by multiple puncture wounds, and they did find the tip of one of the weapons that was still stuck in his chest cavity. Dennis was also struck in the back of the head with what they believe the weapon was used was a sheetrock hammer. Now this hammer, on one of the sides, it looks like an axe on one side. So they believe this was used to try to cut off his hands. But this was a very brutal crime, and now they believe Judy's brother Dale was involved. So Dale is brought in for questioning, and he has the same story as Judy and Beverly, that he was passed out on the couch. But it turns out that Dale was having an affair with Beverly. Beverly was having multiple affairs on Dennis, and even though she was doing this, he would always try to win her back and always would take her back. But at one point, she tried to poison Dennis, just like in the song Goodbye Earl. So she had crushed up an entire pill prescription of Xanax, put it in his chili, he ate it, and then he passed out on the couch and did not wake up for about 2 to 3 days. 2 months go by, and Judy decides to come to talk to police, stating that she is the one that unalived Dennis, but the only reason why she did it is because Beverly asked her to. The reason why she did it is because she wanted to be with her brother Dale, and that's the only reason why she did it. Judy did not accept any money from Beverly to commit this crime. She gave her the murder weapon, stated, "You better get it right this time." So Judy had lured Dennis out to that area, stating, we can have relations together, and he agreed, even though she did not really want to do this. So that's when he laid down the tarp in the bed of the truck. He started to lay down, and that's when Judy brutally attacked him. Stated the only reason why she did this is because Beverly asked her to. So now they want to bring in Beverly for a statement, but now Judy is changing her story. Now she claims that all 4 of them were in the truck. Then they went to the area where Dennis's body was found. Beverly and also Dennis ended up having relations in the bed of the truck, while Judy and Dale were still in the truck and Dale was passed out. So while they're having relations, then Beverly brutally attacks him, and Judy did not do anything to intervene. Judy was just so scared at this time that Beverly asked her, to help move Dennis's body, and she agreed. And she told her, you need to cut his throat. And she's like, why? He's already gone. And she stated, well, if you do this, you're not going to go to the cops because you're an accomplice. So she ends up cutting his throat. So they left Dennis's body there. Beverly is driving the truck. She takes the murder weapon and throws it off a bridge into the river. Beverly claims that Judy acted alone. She never asked her to do this for her. But after Judy committed the crime, she brought in Dennis's wallet and also his personal effects. But Beverly does admit to helping dispose of his body and also cleaning out the truck. So the police did search the river, and they did find a weapon with a broken tip. But they decided to charge just Judy with capital homicide, and they barely had any evidence against Beverly. And Dale was not charged with anything else as well. Because Judy admitted to unaliving Dennis in the first place, but then changed her story, they decided to charge her. So she was found guilty and was sentenced to life without parole, but she claims she did not unalive Dennis. There was not a lot of evidence against Beverly, so she was only charged with hindering apprehension and was sentenced to 15 years, but only served 2 and was released in the year 2007. Now this story made absolutely no sense to me. Why would Judy unalive her good friend's husband for basically no reason, all because she wanted to be with her brother? Why didn't she just divorce Dennis? That's all you had to do. I mean, obviously she was having multiple affairs on him and he kept trying to win her back. But all you have to do is I don't want to be with you anymore. That's all you had to do. But I believe Beverly was the mastermind. If it wasn't for her, Judy would have never done this for her friend. It makes absolutely no sense. But Beverly, there was no evidence against her, which makes me so mad, so I believe she got away with it. But I would love to know what you guys thought about this. I believe justice was not fully served here. But let me know what you guys thought of this in the comments. Thanks for watching. I love you all. We'll see you in the next one. And please take care of yourselves.
You've probably driven behind a semi-truck hundreds of times without ever noticing this. This is there to save your life, and the origin of how it got there is incredibly gruesome and tragic. Actress Jane Mansfield, along with her lawyer Samuel Brody, her driver Ronald Harrison, and all 3 of her children were riding along Highway 90 in Louisiana around 2:25 a.m. They had been on their way to New Orleans, traveling all the way from Mississippi, where Jane had a televised appearance scheduled for the following day. But as they were driving along, a semi-truck in front of them suddenly slammed on their brakes. The driver of the truck had come up on a machine spraying a thick white fog to kill mosquitoes in the area. When he suddenly slowed, Jane's driver Ronald drove into the back of the semi at a high rate of speed. As the 1966 Buick Electra slid underneath the trailer, the top of it was violently crushed, killing all 3 adults inside. Early reports falsely claimed that they had all been decapitated, but this wasn't the case. Jane and her 2 companions had instead been immediately killed on impact. Because Jane's children had been lying down, sleeping in the back seat, they survived but suffered minor injuries. One of the children in the back seat would grow up to become well-known Law and Order actress Mariska Hargitay. As a result of the devastating accident, a new safety protocol would be put in place. A metal bar later installed on the rear of semi-trucks to prevent smaller vehicles from sliding underneath in collisions. That bar would be named the Mansfield Bar in Jane's honor.